I want to share my story today with you all of how I have transitioned from my pain to my purpose. Having grown up as an only child, oftentimes feeling misunderstood or misguided, I've often felt unsupported when I was young. Unfortunately, having had experienced molestation at the hands of a very close family relative, it often left me feeling like, why me? And it made me feel like I wasn't good enough, or I was chosen because of negative reasons, as opposed to later when I joined the sexual abuse survivors ministry and I began one-on-one counseling. It was then that I realized that when you are a victim of molestation, it's not because of anything that you did, it's because of someone else's sickness. And once I understood that, it also made me realize how that experience manifested itself in ways in my life that unfortunately carried into my adulthood, such as low self-esteem, low self-worth, not realizing that I was important and that I deserved more and that I could have more. So sometimes in life we have experiences with our relatives. Unfortunate for me, my mom wasn't always supportive when I was younger, and when I experienced the whole molestation piece, in her not knowing how to deal with it, it unfortunately made her deal with it in a way that used to make statements like, stop using it as a crutch, or hate hurts the hater, not the hated. And what has driven me to be an advocate for children, men and women, towards rebuilding yourself and tapping in on the inside and realizing that you can shine in spite of everything that you've experienced. And unfortunate for me, also growing up without a father, not so much that he wasn't there, I don't know who my father is. So there's a part of me that has often wondered where I come from and what there gets a whole other family out there that I don't get to meet with and gain experiences from that could have helped shape me to be a better person. So in being an empowerment educator at this point in my life, it's because I know the value of having people work with you so that you can work out your pain and later make it your purpose. So going on to college, graduating from Drexel University and receiving a master's in elementary education, and there is some good. I now have a 20-year-old son who came to me at a point in my life when I was at my lowest. And whereas some people often feel like the birth of their child is this wonderful thing, I initially felt like I wasn't deserving of a child because I wasn't sure, from having had not the best example of motherhood. I was afraid, and I wasn't sure that I could be, good enough or strong enough to raise a son. So, moving forward, my child initially was my anchor, but through therapy and hard work, I realized that it's unhealthy to put all of your faith into any one being, because as we all know, people do let you down, and people often are giving you their best selves. So through hard work and determination, I began to work towards realizing how past experiences manifest itself in a way that I had to use it as a stepping stool so that I can forge ahead and do something positive. So I began facilitating workshops, working one-on-one with children, working with women's empowerment luncheons, and now as an empowerment educator, I'm often out and about, and I share my story sometimes in a comical way, and people often say, how do you make something so serious, be comical? But it's because being funny oftentimes was my survival technique. So as of now, I have my own business. I get an opportunity to recently had an opportunity to go to the prisons to speak with the men as well as the women and just try to share my story, help them to know that change is an inside job and that we do have to begin within if we want to move forward and be the success that we're destined to be. So my job now, I often feel, is to help people prepare today for tomorrow's success and let them know that no matter if you have that whole checkered past that people speak of, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's alcoholism, or your family members have had substance abuse issues, or whether you deal with feelings of abandonment, emotional abuse, and all those things, they might unfortunately be a part of your being, but they don't have to be who you represent today. So on a positive note, through therapy, through a strong support base, and through some very special people in my life who often help me not only vent and get out my negative feelings, but they also help me to begin building, and not only knowing that my story has purpose and value, but it more importantly can help other people. And so those same persons, say like my mother, or whether it's the people who I have experienced a lot of negativity with, what I'm able to do now is not only be a survivor, but begin to help people help themselves. And essentially, when I'm talking with people, I'm able to let them know that, kind of like the cliche, this too shall pass, but not so blasé about it, but in a sense that lets them know that you have to be able to take something from every experience, even though it's unfortunate, it may have had a bad impact, because I dealt with, my grandfather committed suicide in our home, so you have the feeling of abandonment, the feeling of just not being good enough, and you have all these things rolled up, and you have to make a choice. You really do. And thankfully, through the support and therapy and just sheer will to get through it, I'm able to now sit before you and truly be able to say that I was able to turn my pain into my purpose. And finally, in 2010, I fell backwards down 10 steps. I was paralyzed from the right side of my stomach down. For 2 months, I not only didn't know if I was going to walk again, but unfortunately that paralyzation took over my womanhood. So I spent quite some time just not knowing what my new normal was going to be. But as of today, I've had surgery on both knees. I've had surgery on my shoulder. Unfortunately, I need back surgery. But at the end of the day, I feel like these things, even though I jokingly say it's like Humpty Dumpty put me back together again, I really know that even in my times of feeling suicidal with a plan, I often had to realize these things now, they may be in my past, but that's where I have to leave them. In September of 2015, I decided to have my own full figure pageant, and I titled it Miss Philadelphia Full Figure Pageant, and the theme was loving all of me. And what the pageant does is it helps men, women, and all of the contestants and the audience and beyond, helps everyone to embrace full figure beauty. It raises awareness of health and positive self-image, and more importantly, it helps people to feel good about themselves. And all of the contestants, there were 11 women of all different shapes and sizes, but they were able to not only embrace one another, but gain and reaffirm a new sense of their own plus size beauty. It's a great opportunity to be here today as the plenary lunch hour speaker for the New York State Coalition Against Sexual Violence 2016 conference in Albany, New York. I initially put in to do a workshop, and to be chosen as the plenary lunch hour speaker is an awesome honor, and I just hope that you all were able to understand how I transitioned from my pain to my purpose. Thank you.